Ruben Amorim there speaking about the goalkeeper position. I mean, Andre Onana, first start of the season, didn't quite cover himself in glory, did he, Ashley?
No, I just don't get it. I feel like when I watch him play, you just want him to have a quiet game. You're like, can we get through a game or a week without mentioning Andre Onana if he's in between the sticks? And you always are. So the fact that we're talking about him again this morning, I'm glad that his managers come out and backed him and tried to play that down. But we have to talk about him because, again, he's made costly errors, big errors, and he's so flamboyant in the goal. It's like, just have a quiet game. It's not, you don't have to be the star of the show in this game. Just do your job. Don't be for us here sitting talking about you. But again, we're talking about him for errors. I
mean, he did take a good penalty. Give that to him. Did step up and take a good penalty in the shootout. Not that you need your goalkeeper to do that, really, ever. They are in talks with Royal Antwerp's, is it Senna Lammens? Yeah. Is he an upgrade, Andy, on Onana and Bayindir, I suppose? But maybe should their focus be on one of the best goalkeepers in world football that's currently sat there not playing and available?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, the Gigi Donnarumma shadow is not just there because he's 6.5 foot tall. I think you look at Lammens and you think this is another sort of player that if I was him, I'd be thinking, what is awaiting me at United? When I look at similar players, or players of a similar age profile to me who've gone there, have they developed as they should? Have they got closer to fulfilling their potential there? Now, look, Lammens has got everything that suggests that he should be a good Premier League goalkeeper. He's big, he comes with crosses, he's got a decent amount of first-team experience there as well. And United have been interested in him for a while, so this isn't an impulse buy or anything like that. But what happens, he gets there and he has a difficult start. I mean, all of a sudden, you're back to square one and you're faced with just another problem. Surely someone who's experienced, who can deal with things. I mean, I've always had... Obviously, Donnarumma was the best goalkeeper in the Premier League, in the Champions League last season. Whether he can be that in the Premier League, someone who is not great with his feet, is obviously a phenomenal shot stopper, but it's kind of glued to his line a lot of the time. In the Premier League, you're going to get contact, you're going to want to come for crosses. I don't know. Does it feel like another potential United disaster if that was something that was going to happen for them? I kind of feel that he would be able to cope with the heat better than Lammens until we know otherwise. Maybe he'll be great for them. But it just feels like another player who is being asked to take on too great responsibility early on.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see where Gianluigi Donnarumma goes at the... Actually, sort of pose this question in your first answer. But where do United go from here? I mean, that Burnley at home this weekend is way bigger. Third Premier League game of the season. It's way bigger than anyone would have expected at this stage. And
Burnley will be right up for it. If you're Burnley now, all of a sudden... I mean, when I used to play against Manchester United, you was like, this is a free hit, we're probably going to lose, but we could give it a go. Burnley are now going into it thinking, right, they're there for the taking. But in the bigger, I really thought that Ruben Amorim would do well when he come in. I thought he had a really good system that he played that was difficult to play against. It's just completely not worked at all, and he's sticking to what he believes in. Fair play to him for that. But there's got to come a time when he says, I don't have the players to play in this system, or they're not understanding my instructions, and change it and be a little bit more flexible and adaptable to the Premier League or to the players that he's got. I don't really see how he's going to fix this. And as I said before, he doesn't come out of film with confidence when he says, I know what the problem is, I'm going to change this by the weekend.
Finally, it looks like there has been a breakthrough between Chelsea and Manchester United regarding a deal for Alejandro Garnacho. A deal is now closed with a compromise to be reached regarding the valuation. Ashley, it feels like now we can say with 4 days to go in the window that Alejandro Garnacho will probably be a Chelsea player. But given it's a World Cup year as well, he's been left out of the Argentina squad for the upcoming games. How much does Alejandro Garnacho need this move?
Yeah, he's desperate. I think he's made that clear from the start. He wanted to go to Chelsea. That was his preferred team. It's a good move for Manchester United. Obviously, he's got no desire to play for Manchester United anymore. As you said, he needs to get back into that Argentina squad. So that's where he wants to go. So if this move does go ahead and he gets into that Chelsea club, it's now down to him. I think it's time for him to start showing what he can do regularly, week in, week out. And he's got no more excuses. He can't say he's unhappy because this is exactly what he wanted. Whether he fits into that system or not, or where he fits in and how they use him, I'm not sure yet. But for him himself as a player, he wanted this, he's got it, so now it's time to let his actions do the talking.
Andy, is this a risk for Chelsea in any way, given the situation Alejandro Garnacho finds himself in at United?
I mean, it's less of a risk than if they'd have paid what United actually wanted, but it's still a risk, definitely, because the potential's been obvious for a while, but that we're still talking about potential, I think is a bit of a concern, because you would have expected him to progress faster. I guess this has been a recurrent problem for Manchester United, isn't it? You've got a player. Can you make him into what he really should be? And there have been so many of those players at Manchester United who haven't turned into that player. So now the onus is on Maresca, is on his team, is on Chelsea to make him into what he should be. But they've clearly been looking for that wide player for quite a long time. That they didn't feel that Jadon Sancho was it, so they've gone with Garnacho instead.
Yeah, it's interesting about Alejandro Garnacho, because like you say, you're not quite sure actually where he fits in, but there's a real opportunity there with Jamie Gittins really the only rather recognised left winger. If Alejandro Garnacho comes in and sorts himself out, gets focused, there's a real chance that he could nail down that starting spot, given that Gittins only came in the summer. Yeah,
I think you nailed it there as well. It's about him mentally being a professional now, and I think sometimes you see a little bit the odd tantrum here. Sometimes he does a bit more talking off the pitch than he should do on the pitch. We've all seen the flashes of what he can do. He's clearly a good football player, but what he needs to do now, if he gets this move, is settle down and make that position his position now. I mean, we was talking off camera before that attacking players sometimes find themselves in and out the squad, in and out the starting 11 quite regular. But for him, he needs to be that good at Chelsea where, because there's an opening there, he starts all the time. Every week he's the first name on the team sheet for that position.
But is like we say about the risk, what happens if Alejandro Garnacho doesn't nail down a starting space and he finds himself on the bench at Chelsea? Are we then in the same position that he was in at United, or do you think it will be different?
Well, maybe. Look, I think Maresca is pretty much... He demands players to give everything off the ball. And that has been, I think, one of the major problems with Garnacho. You haven't really seen... On the ball, he looks great for a lot of the time, and then when United haven't got the ball, you're like, come on, I want to see a bit more. And I can't believe that Maresca will let him get away with that. And when you look at the competition, as you say, with Jamie Gittins, someone who started last season with Dortmund brilliantly, didn't finish last season brilliantly, and again has an enormous lot to prove. If you think of the sort of players that Chelsea have gone with in recent years, that sort of young and hungry, the competition is so intense. It's like you said, Ashley, there's not just no excuses for Garnacho, but if he doesn't give everything, it just won't happen for him.
And I think on that point as well, which I'm sure we'll touch on, all Manchester United players kind of have an excuse at the minute because they've come from Manchester United and nobody's playing good. Well, now he's going to a team that are actually performing with a manager that looks like he knows how to get a tune out of his players. So if he isn't doing the work off the ball, or if his end product isn't good enough, it is now on Garnacho, not on... He can't blame anybody else. He can't blame the team or the club because the rest of the players are doing the business.
Yeah, he absolutely can't. But he is young and there is still so much potential, I think, in Alejandro Garnacho. And it's a similar situation for Kobbie Mainoo, still so young with so much to give. But he could also leave Manchester United. Ruben Amorim saying he does believe in the midfielder amid interest from clubs in the Premier League and across Europe. But actually, I mean, it's all good and well coming out and saying that you do believe in a player, but you're not really giving him any game time. So what does that mean? It's a World Cup year for Kobbie Mainoo as well.
Well, I think from the manager's point of view, he's probably saying the right thing. But if I'm a player and my manager's coming out post-match or in the press conference saying he believes in me, but he's not playing me, that tells me that he doesn't really believe in me. And we've all seen, again, his quality, what he can do in the Premier League and on the international level. He needs to be playing for a top team. He's a good player, and also he's so popular in the area, in the Manchester area, that fan base. I'm not sure if he leaves that team, how that's going to go down at all. I don't think it'll go down very well.
It's a really difficult sell to the fans, I think, because obviously United have had their difficulties. And on the whole, the fans who filled Old Trafford have really stuck with them. But I think this is going to be difficult to swallow. If you think of like Danny Welbeck and how much it hurt those Man United fans when he went, because someone who comes through the system to excel, and Mainoo is someone who could be one of their best players if they develop him right. There's no doubt about that. it would be such a shame. I think a lot of United fans would find that very difficult to accept, particularly if he went to a Premier League rival and excelled there.
And obviously Premier League clubs are interested in Kobbie Mainoo, but there are some European suitors as well. Where do you think he would be best suited if he was to go abroad, Andy?
I could see him, not that I think they especially need him at this moment. I could see him being a Bayern player. And I could see him be a really, really good Bayern player. You look at the energy that they play with and you look at the energy that he plays with at their best. And look, you know, Kimmich and Goretzka aren't going to go on forever. I would be looking at that. I don't think they have the money to make it happen, but I think he'd be great there.
Yeah, what will happen with Kobbie Mainoo? And then what about Rasmus Højlund as well? He's close to leaving. Napoli will hold more talks with Manchester United as they look to finalise a deal for the striker. Andy, the big question here is, though, obviously Romelu Lukaku is injured at the moment, but what happens when Romelu Lukaku gets back fit?
And this is really the crux of the deal, Olivia, because Napoli would like to borrow him and have an option that becomes obligatory after he's played a certain amount of games. And I guess Manchester United are looking at that and thinking, OK, well, if Lukaku gets fit and they never play him again, we're left with this problem again this time next year, which is an issue. I mean, in terms of what United are realistically looking for, I think you have to be honest and say there's not a lot of days left in the transfer window. They've been trying to ditch him for a long time now. He's fallen well short of expectations there. He's used to Serie A. We know he can perform well there. And really, all they need to do with Højlund for the moment is reinflate his value, is to make him sellable. Now, obviously, they would like some guaranteed money, and wouldn't we all? But look, I think you have to be realistic, and if that is the only sticking point, they just have to get him back out there in the shop window, because at the moment, they are lucky that Napoli are desperate. They thought they'd already sorted their transfer window. You know, they got Kevin De Bruyne early on. They got all the other players they wanted early on. And all of a sudden, they've been throwing this curveball 14 days before the start of the season. And they have to deal with it. So it's a great opportunity for United. I don't think they should be picking